Hey, welcome back. Today I want to share some changes I made to Sharuum, the Hegemon, my dirty combo artifact deck. Why is it a dirty combo deck, you might ask? Let me show you the dirty combos, and then I'll show you the cards that I changed. So, dirty combo number one in a few different iterations. First off, you need either Basalt Monolith, 3 colorless to cast it, tap, add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool, does not untap as normal during the untap step. You may spend 3 mana whenever you feel like it to untap it. Or Gilded Lotus, 5 tap, add 3 mana of any one color. So you need one of those. And you need Karn, Silver Golem. So Karn is a 4/4 legendary artifact creature for 5. When he blocks, it doesn't matter. We don't care about that. What we care about is 1. Target non-creature artifact is an artifact creature with power and toughness, each equal to its casting cost until end of turn. That's what we care about. So, we would tap the Basalt Monolith or the Lotus and use 1 of the mana to turn it into a creature. Then we need Voltaic Construct. Voltaic Construct is a 4 cast cost 2/2 Golem. 2. Untap target artifact creature. Can you see where I'm going with this? So, say you've got the Monolith. Tap it for 3. Turn it to a creature. Spend the remaining 2 to untap the artifact that is now a creature. Tap it for 3. Spend 2, untap it, tap it for 3, spend 2, untap it, tap it for 3, spend 2, untap it. And just the extra 1 from the 3, you just build it up. So if you've got the Basalt Monolith, then you're kind of stuck with the Rocket Launcher combo. So Rocket Launcher, of course, has to start in play at the beginning of your... Basically, it's an artifact with Summoning Sickness. It's pretty weird, but it's from Antiquities, so just go with it. Anyway, if the rocket launcher is ready to fire, and you've got the Basalt Monolith card and Voltaic Construct out, basically just generate infinite mana, so you can rocket everybody's creatures and everybody else that's opposing you. You spend 2 colorless damage to do 1 damage to any target. At the end of the turn, rocket launcher is a disposed rocket launcher. It's like an AT4. So, that's the one. Now, if you've got the Gilded Lotus, you can also use that with the rocket launcher. But when you turn to a creature, and then you spend the other 2 to untap it, you're going to tap it for blue. You want blue. So that net 1 blue you generate with every iteration, and you just keep going until you decide to stop. You run it through Memnarch. Memnarch is a 7 cast cost 4/5 legendary wizard. Spend 1 colorless and 2 blue. Target permanent becomes an artifact until, in addition to its other types. The effect doesn't end at end of turn. I was going to say that, but I just read it. So, there you go. And then for 3 in a blue, gain control of target artifact. Also, the effect does not end at the end of the turn. So, you generate an incredibly large amount of mana, blue, with Gilded Lotus, by untapping it after it becomes an artifact creature, and you run it through Memnarch, and you steal everything. And you can steal everything at end speed, and you can keep doing it again. I did this. I've got a friend that hates combo decks, despises them. But because it is a 4-card combo, and it is kind of shaky because 3 of the parts, speaking Memnarch, are artifact creatures, or the other part is a rocket launcher that I have to play tapped, and it cannot be used until it starts. It's in play on my side at the beginning of the turn. So I have to wait a whole turn to use it, so everybody gets a whole turn to look at it and think about what's going to happen. And then I have to have the Monolith or the Gilded Lotus. Sharuum does not have any unrestricted tutors. She does have tutors for artifacts in the form of Tezzeret, the Seeker, and artifact creatures in the form of a Sphinx Summoner. But other than that, I've got to try into them to assemble the combo. So because it is a 4-card combo of some flavor, he was fine with it when I assembled it and stole everything with the Mimdark. He didn't, of course he wasn't happy that I won that way, but he said I really can't say anything against it because it was a hard combo to pull off. So anyway, the easier combo, the traditional Dirty Sharuum combo, is you need Sharuum. You need her in the command zone typically. So she costs 3, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white for a 5/5 legendary Sphinx artifact creature. When she comes into play, you may return target artifact card from graveyard to play. So you need, or you have her in play. In the command zone, it doesn't matter. So you get her in play, and then you either need Sculpting Steel. There's other things you can use, but these are the 2 cards I've chosen because they've got other uses in the deck. I don't go chasing this combo. I have no way of getting the 4th card of the combo because I have no way of finding a creature. I have only ways of finding artifacts and or artifact creatures in the deck. So Sculpting Steel comes into play as a copy of any artifact in the battlefield. Friction Metamorph, same thing, comes into play as a copy of any creature or artifact on the battlefield. You need one of these 2. Doesn't matter which one. Completely irrelevant. Then you need this bastard. So Disciple of the Vault. As I said, I've got no way to search for him in the deck. I have to just raw draw, go find him that way. Whenever an artifact is put into graveyard from play, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. So some of you know about this combo. Sharuum used to be a really popular commander, and this is kind of expected that this combo would exist in Sharuum. But I don't know these days if Sharuum is still as popular, or if people are still doing this combo in some other way. So anyway, Sharuum comes into play. You make a copy of her with one of these, and the legendary rule triggers. So one of the other Sharuum or the copy has to go in the graveyard. But it came into play and it copied her, so it set up the delayed trigger of return an artifact from your graveyard to play. So let's say you've got Sculpting Steel. It goes to the graveyard, but it still has a delayed trigger. So it comes back out of the graveyard. You copy Sharuum again. Legendary rule applies. It goes to the graveyard. That trigger goes on the stack. And basically, with the Disciple of the Vault, every time the legendary rule puts that Sculpting Steel in your graveyard, you have somebody lose 1 life. And it's just a machine gun. It's unstoppable until you choose to have the Sculpting Steel or the Friction Metamorph copy something else. Basically, it will end when you decide it ends, although it's normally not stopped until everybody's dead and you've won the game. Then you can stop it. So those are the main dirty combos with Sharuum. A side combo is Darksteel Forge. Artifacts you control are indestructible. And Nevernull's Disc. Comes into play tapped, but I've got ways of untapping artifacts in this deck, so I'm not too chuffed about that. 1. Destroy your artifacts, enchantments, and creatures in play, including the disc itself. But all your artifacts are indestructible, including the disc itself. So you tap the disc, you destroy everything. Darksteel Forge says, I will save your artifacts, including the disc. And the disc says, cool man, so I can do the same bullshit next turn to everybody. So those are the dirty combos of Sharuum. Let me go back and show you what I changed. So I took out Venture the Sojourner because I realized that I didn't really have that many permanents I cared about exiling. And also I wanted to put in a mana vault. So I did not have a mana vault before. I decided I really wanted one in the deck. Something had to come out, and Venser was the least damaging exclusion. So yes, I do have some permanents that it would be nice if I flickered them, exiled them, returned them to the battlefield at the end of the turn. But Mana Vault is much more useful in this deck. The creatures are unblockable. I really don't care about that. Neg 6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, exile target permanent. That really bothers your opponents. It really does. So if you go for that, I have done it once. And basically that was the end of the game. If you ultimate Venser and you've got ways of, it's artifact deck, so I mean you've got a lot of cheap artifacts to cast, and you exile the key permanents, it kind of puts a stop to things, and people say, yep, that's game, let's go to the next one. Fair enough, I can't blame you. Something else I did is I took out Mind's Eye. 5 casting cost artifact. Whenever an opponent draws a card, I may pay 1 if I do draw a card. I decided that in practice, it's really not as good as the Rhystic Study. A few months ago, some people were saying, don't take out the Rhystic Study because I had the Mind's Eye and the Rhystic Study. Oh. Excuse me. And one person in particular said that he wouldn't recommend taking out the study. Well, I'm going back to that advice. I'm putting the Rhystic Study back in. So let's put it to the main. And taking out Mind's Eye because it's not as useful. It's a constant mana sink. Now, if it said whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first card they draw on a turn, you may pay 1, and if you do, you draw the card and they don't, something like that, like a Notion Thief, that would be pretty cool. That'd be much more useful. And it would be more in line with it costing 5. So, Mind's Eye came out. Let's put this up to the main, because I already explained Mana Vault. I took out Urborg because I really don't need to make everything a swamp, and I needed my copy of Urborg for a modern deck. So I took Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth out of Sharuum. It wasn't really necessary. Really didn't provide me that much of an advantage because the deck isn't heavy black, and I've got a lot of ways of getting the black mana I need. So in place of Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, what did I put in? I don't have it down here. Oh, this is, I thought I set this up properly. Oh yeah, I just put in a swamp. Instead of Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, I just put in a basic swamp. So there you go. I also took out Bojuka Bog. I've started rethinking my habit of just sliding a Bojuka Bog into every deck with black, because I don't always need to exile an opponent's graveyard. Sharuum already has a Tormod's Crypt. I could put a Nihil Spellbomb in there, but right now, because my Spellbombs are in other decks, she has Tormod's Crypt, and I've got plenty of ways of getting it back. So I don't really need the Bog coming into play tapped. I don't really need to hold it in my hand, waiting to use it at the most auspicious time. So I decided I would free up a slot and take out the Bog. And what I chose to put in instead is Template False God. So this is something else I am rethinking. I went from Temple of the False God goes in every commander deck to Tempt the False God only goes in a few, to why do I have these damn things in all these decks anyway, and only putting them in the decks where it really looks like it will help. Decks that have a lot of artifacts, decks that are so low to the ground that if I play this as my 4th land, and it's not active, in decks that's not going to hurt me, not going to slow me down and make me lose tempo too much. Sharuum, because of all the mana rocks, it won't make me lose tempo that much. Sig, the same thing. He's got a lot of mana rocks. Most everything costs 3 in Sig because of all the specters, 3 or 4. So not having this active exactly when I cast it doesn't hurt me in those 2 decks as examples. Other decks, yeah, I drop Temple of the False God. I also took out Expedition Map because without a Cabal Coffers, and it never had a Cabal Coffers in the latest major build that I did. So for a long time she didn't have coffers, she had Urborg, because I thought that I might need the access to black, but I really don't, so losing Urborg doesn't hurt me. And since I don't have Urborg or Cabal Coffers, there's no point having an Expedition Map. I mean, what am I going to get? Sure, I can get Arcane Lighthouse if I need to steal with Memnarch or blow up the rocket launcher opponents that have hexproof or shrouded creatures. But I really don't think that's going to be much of a problem. If, say I've got the rocket launcher and my opponent's creatures have hexproof and or shroud, well, that's fine. I'll just shoot 1,000 rockets at my opponent and he's dead, and he takes his creatures to the grave with him. So the creatures are no longer a problem. In Memnarch, if my opponent, one of them, has hexproof and shard creatures, if it's a temporary effect, say with Heroic Intervention, then okay, fine. At the end of your turn, when his turn starts, then I'm going to steal all your shit. All of it. Now, if some of his things are permanently hexproof or shrouded, that can get interesting, but his lands won't be. The other guy that's playing with us, his stuff probably won't be. So if the hexproof and or shroud guy, for example Slivers, if my buddy is playing his Slivers deck and they're indestructible, hexproof, shroud, and to be fair, they'll probably be unblockable except by Slivers, well, I'll just have to take all his lands and deal with the situation as best I can. So anyway, Expedition Map, it could find Arcane Lighthouse. I'm not really going to use it to go after Misha's Workshop. I don't really, if I spend 1 on Expedition Map, 2 to break it and go find a land, I probably already have a few mana rocks, so I don't need the Workshop in play. Other than that, maybe I would need it if I'm hard up for blue, hard up for black, hard up for a color. But with the mana rocks that I have, I've got all 3 signets. I have Mox Opal. I have Arcane Signet. I have Gilded Lotus. What else do I have? I have Burnished Heart to go find lands. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So I took out Expedition Map. Now, something I do want to put in is, I picked up one of these today. Got my order in at Cherry Teach. Oh, something I'd like to know is, for my subscribers, do you prefer when I do these change logs with the actual cards and show you the cards in real on my little camera, or are you fine with me showing it on Mox Field so you don't see the real cards but you see the deck as a whole better laid out? Let me know what you prefer and I'll go that way. So anyway, I bought this Lightning Greaves because I decided I really wanted one in Sharuum. I don't know what I'm going to take out for it. Still thinking about it. There's not a whole lot of targets for it, but the targets are pretty clutch. So Arkham Daxon, give him the Greaves, immediately tap him to sacrifice a artifact creature to go find my Darksteel Forge. Who else? Master Transmuter. I can give her the Greaves to immediately have her on tap, so if somebody's going to blow up one of my artifacts, I can bounce it back to my hand, put something else down in play. Aethersworn Adjudicator. I've never used him. I have a foil one. It's beautiful. I love it. I've never actually, I think maybe I've had him in play a couple times, but I never needed to activate him. It's just I don't want to take him out, as destroying a creature or enchantment could be pretty damn useful. And if I give the Greaves, I could do that immediately. Metalworker. So, turn 2, Lightning Greaves. Turn 3, Metalworker, give him the Greaves, tap him. I should have at least 4 artifacts in my hand. There's 8 mana. So, I can cast out those artifacts. So, he's definitely a good target for the Greaves. Scarecrow. It's 4 tap, return target artifact card from graveyard to play. Artifact creature card, sorry. So I can return an artifact creature from a graveyard to play. So any that have died or sacrificed, Burnished Heart, Copper Gnomes, that sort of thing, I can get them back. Otherwise, there is nobody else in here that has a tap ability where I want to buff it with the Greaves. Just those 4 cards. I still want the Greaves in here though to help protect some of my creatures, to give them the Shroud effect. I just need to figure out what is going to be less useful than the Greaves. I could take out Platinum Angel. I really don't need her, but one of my buddies loves to play Infect and nasty decks like that. So if I'm at 9 poison counters, I could drop the Platinum Angel, and when he puts me at 10 or more, as long as I have her, I can't lose the game. He can't win the game. But that's an edge case. And she does cost 7. She is a 4/4. So she's not that big and tough. She costs a lot of mana. If to protect her I need to put her back in my hand with the Master Transmuter, then if I've been poisoned, then I would lose the game because I have over the amount of poison. So possibly Platinum Angel will come out for the Lightning Greaves. I really can't think of anything else that hasn't really proven its worth, and I would take out for the Greaves. Anyway, I'll think about it. So that's it. That's a look at Sharuum. Look at the dirty combos. Some of the changes that I've made to her. Is there any other changes that are interesting that any of you would want to see or care about? Probably not. I'll leave you with the dirty combo image. Right then. Cheers.